Thank you for joining this training. This is Jeremy Hazelwood, and you are tuned in to 14 components of a digital fundraising campaign brought to you by Fundraisers Unite. And we're getting started here in a moment. Sit tight for about another minute. We're going to give people a chance to join, and we will get started. Thank you. All right, thank you for sitting tight there. We're gonna hold on for about another 30 seconds or so, and then we'll get started into 14 components of a digital fundraising campaign. Let these people that are coming in right before it starts, we'll give them a chance to join and get settled in. I'll be right with you. All right, you are tuned in to 14 components of a digital fundraising campaign. That is the training. This is being brought to you by Fundraisers Unite. So let's go ahead and get started. First of all, I'll tell you a little bit about myself. This is Jeremy Hazelwood. I've got 20 years of digital marketing experience. I'm the author of the best-selling Amazon book, The Digital Fundraising Blueprint, which is available in paperback, ebook, as well as audiobook. And I've led digital fundraising strategy at multiple agencies that specialized in working for nonprofits. And the digital strategies that I've put together have helped to raise over $100 million for nonprofits, and that is online revenue. My experiences with human services organizations, medical research, disaster response, faith-based organizations, and animal welfare. So that's a little bit about me. Let's jump right in. Let's talk about the contents of what we'll be reviewing in today's training. And that is why it's important. So why is a digital campaign important? Why are these 14 different components important? Then we'll actually dive into the 14 different components that make up a digital fundraising campaign. I'll share some tips on how to do it. So we can go over all these different tips, but you might need a little bit of guidance in where to get started. So that's what how to do it will cover. And then we'll talk about prioritizing all 14 of these different components, because that can seem like a lot. It can seem a little bit overwhelming, but no worries. I will help you prioritize that in this current environment. A lot of people are working from home, and these are things that you can do at your home with your teams working remote and get these digital fundraising campaigns up and running. So let's go into why it is important. And talking about why it's important to have 14 different digital components. And I threw all 4 of them up here on the screen at one time, but I'll go through them one at a time. One is that it maximizes awareness. So if you think about it, some of the channels that we'll go through, naturally you'll see email on this list of the 14. But some of the other channels, if you think about it, not everybody is going to be exposed to every single channel. And so we want to make sure that, whether someone is active on email or not, that there are other ways that we can reach that donor. So one is just maximizing the awareness. And these are the different touch points. So when we get into it increases the frequency. If they are someone that is involved in multiple digital channels, this maximizes the opportunity to put an impression of your brand in front of them over and over through multiple channels. And it's not like we're going to be beating the donors upside the head with your messaging, but it is something that they'll see frequent enough and often enough to where when it does come to understanding the need of your organization, they'll be able to remember your organization, especially as your donors are hit with messages from competing organizations for their dollars. So you want to make sure that having visibility in these 14 different components will be something that is active for your donors to see when it is to be in their consideration set when they are ready to make a donation. The third one on here is to meet donors where they are. Again, you may have a donor that is super active in email, so you meet them there. You may already be doing email with your nonprofit, and that's great. But there also are other channels where maybe you're not very active right now, but your donors are. So this will allow you to have some coverage in these other channels and meet them where they are. The last one on here is it allows different ways to engage. So if you think about the way somebody interacts with a social media post versus how they interact with an email, it's very different. And that's the same for some of the other channels that we'll be looking at in here. And sometimes an engagement is just a click. Sometimes it's a comment, it's a like, it's a share. So there's a lot of different ways that donors can get engaged. And also the experience that you provide them is different via the different digital channel that you select to engage with them in. So it helps to put more depth to your branding, more depth to your messaging, and creates more opportunities for your nonprofit to generate revenue, especially for campaigns. So that is why it's important. Also, before we get started into these 14 channels, let's take a step back and look at the high-level digital fundraising ecosystem. And it all starts with the donor in the middle. Now, surrounding the donor are multiple channels that are seeking to get the donor's attention. And so you have email, social media, search, mobile, maybe display ads, blog content, out-of-home ads, and direct mail. All of these different channels are channels, and I'm not even going to say they're competing channels. These are all supportive channels, and these are channels that you can actually run campaigns that hit all of these channels to really get that messaging out to your donor. And the ultimate goal from a digital perspective is we want that donor to go to your landing page and make a donation. Once that donation is given, you receive that gift. Their information goes into a CRM system that would track the contact with your donor and the giving history of your donor. And also, once they get that gift, maybe there's an opportunity for that donor to share that message on social media. And when they share that on social media, they're actually influencing their peers and they're becoming an advocate for your organization, which will in turn bring them back to your website to either learn more about your organization or hopefully make a gift, where you see that cycle continue of giving a gift, displaying it on social media, and influencing more peers. But in addition, you also have organic traffic, people who stumble across your website, or maybe they are looking for a particular cause. Let's say you do cancer research or something like that, and they're looking up cancer research organizations or cancer research nonprofits, and your organization pops up in the search results. This would be your organic traffic, and these people would learn more about you, engage with your brand, and would give a gift, and so the ecosystem continues to go. So this is a high-level look at that digital fundraising ecosystem. Okay. So now let's look at the 14 different components of digital fundraising. Some of these you'll probably know, some of these you're probably already doing, and some of the content that I'll go over here may be new for the first time, or maybe it's something that you've heard about but haven't necessarily thought about how you can weave it into your digital fundraising. So let's jump into these. The first one here is a donation page. Of course, this is extremely basic. If you talk about digital fundraising, you can't talk about online fundraising without having a donation page in which to receive those donations. Now, one thing that a lot of nonprofits do is they'll have a donation page, but it might be a pretty empty page that just has a link to a PayPal account and an opportunity to make a gift via PayPal. And if that's all you have, that's definitely better than nothing. However, I would certainly hope that you would try to expand that donation page. The example that I show here on the left side, it's a little bit blurry. It's not the best image that I have here, but one of the things that's great about this is there's minimal fields to it, and it has a headline. Even though it's Give to Invisible Children, that focuses more on the actual organization, which is Invisible Children. And what you'll find on donation pages is instead of making that headline about the organization, you make it about the donor and talk about maybe what giving to invisible children might do. So, help 5 children do X. So whenever you're thinking of a donation page, you do want to have a contextual headline, and you want to have copy that supports that, because just because donors come here doesn't mean that they're going to necessarily make a gift. The abandonment rate from donation pages is pretty high. It's probably 85% or better, meaning 8 out of 10 people that hit your donation page will not make a gift. So you want to make sure that you give a reason on here that they should make a gift, and go ahead and make that gift now. Things that you can do also to create urgency would be putting a countdown timer on your donation page, especially if it's a campaign. Maybe you have a campaign and the last day to give is such and such date at such and such time, so you can put a countdown calendar on, or countdown timer rather, on there. If you're using WordPress, this is most likely a plugin that you could get. There's other options if you're not using WordPress where you could have that built into your website. And also, just a tip about your donation page, make sure that you're only asking people what you really need in order to make a gift. So when I have only the fields that you need, don't ask for more information than you need just to make the gift, because there's plenty of research out there that shows the more fields that a donor is required to fill in before they make a gift, the lower the opportunity is for them to actually make that gift, because it can seem a little daunting or overwhelming. So even though it'd be nice to know your donor's birthday from the very beginning, don't ask for that in order to get the gift. Just get the gift, and then you can follow up with them through a welcome series or maybe even on the thank you page and get more information from your donors. So the last couple of things here, as I mentioned already, the contextual headline and supportive copy. So these are things that you can add to your donation page. And one of the things I also like about this page that we're seeing here on the right side, it's a little bit blurry, but it does have what I call trust checkers that talk about the security of the website, because these are things that donors want to know. If I make a gift online, is it secure? So you can just put some, whether it's the logos or whatever visual cues that you need to give to your donors to let them know that, in fact, this is a secure donation. Okay, so going on to the next one, again, you'll see these first few here are probably very basic and things that you're most likely already doing. So the second component is email. And my recommendation is, if you're running a digital campaign, that you have at least 2 emails that go out. One to announce the campaign and one to end the campaign. And generally, you're going to have a campaign running from 4 to 6 weeks. Now, you could throw a third email in the mix, but maybe that second email isn't a fundraising email. Maybe it's more of an update on the campaign, or maybe it's a cultivation email that mentions the campaign in it, but you're really not doing a hard ask in that email. So that's why I would say at least 2 emails, but possibly 3. And I would have, again, one to kick it off, one to close it out. Some of the things that you can add in email, similar to a donation page, is you can add a countdown timer sometimes within those emails, and that does create urgency and gets people to act. And I have 2 different versions of an email here, and I'll talk about them real quickly here. The one on the left is a very beautifully designed email, and you see at the top it has the counter on there. It has 0 hours, 0 minutes, 0 seconds. So there's things about this email that I like. It has buttons on here that say double your impact, so it lets donors know that if you click on this, your gift will actually double, which is a really great tactic to get people to make donations. A couple of things down here that to me seem a little bit distracting, even though it has good intentions, which is to share this email, and it has Twitter, Facebook, and a little email icon. My recommendation would be to strip out anything about sharing the email right now. If you want to share about this campaign, I would make all of that happen after you make the gift. So keep the donor focused on what the need is and what the campaign is, and only giving them the option to make a gift. I wouldn't put any social media links in there. Even at the bottom of this, it has a chart to show what percentage of the money is used towards actual services, and that's great. I think that's something that could be tested, whether it's here or on a donation page, to see whether that impacts your overall conversion rates. The email on the right side, this is a very stripped down email, and this is actually, I'm taking this from Next After. They're doing a lot of incredible research on all kinds of testing, conversion testing for nonprofits, and this is an example they gave of really a basic email. And what I'd recommend doing is to test a designed email versus a very stripped down, more text-based email. And yes, the one on the right is nowhere near as pretty as the one on the left. However, sometimes, actually a lot of times, you'll see the very stripped down email perform higher than a designed email. That's not the case 100% of the time, but if you've never tested this for your organization, then I would definitely recommend that you test it. And the reason is because it looks more like email as opposed to a marketing message. So it now doesn't have the image to maybe show the need or the headline, but definitely test this out, and don't just test it on one campaign, test it on multiple campaigns just to see which one wins out. You might be surprised at what the results would be. eliminate any of those distracting links. Keep your email sharp, keep it focused, eliminate anything that would take the user out of that conversion funnel to make a gift for that campaign. All right, another one here that you see a lot of organizations do, but not every organization throws this into their campaign mix, and that's a website banner. So if you're doing an email and your donation page, and they're all campaign based, if you're running a campaign that's running 4 to 6 weeks, then have a banner on your website and what's called the hero image, which is that main header image on your website. Put that up there that corresponds with the campaign that you're running, and you can have some copy on that or a headline on there that matches the same headline or value proposition of the campaign that you're running through email, through your donation page. So again, this is just another way to get that impression of the campaign and to weave the messaging in for people that come on your website either through organically or maybe they were referred through some other means to see that here's the campaign that's going on right now. And here are two good examples of organizations that are using that hero image space to promote one of their campaigns. The next one is a blog, and this is one that I don't see very often. When you think about a campaign usually has a certain theme around it. There's a certain ask or an offer is what I would call it. And this gives you an opportunity to create another piece of content outside of maybe a traditional piece of digital marketing like an email, and that would be a blog. So if there's something that you're raising money for, this is a good time to create a story. I mean, not create it from scratch, but actually talk about things that have happened within your organization, people you have helped, areas of impact that you've made in the world, and write an article about it. And with this article, if you have a place for a blog on your website, definitely post it there. But make it a story about your campaign and who will be impacted by this campaign, why your campaign is so important. But don't necessarily focus on the campaign within your blog. Focus on what your impact is, and then talk about your campaign at the end of the blog and put a button on there like a donate now or learn more that will take people to your donation page. And ways that you can use this blog, naturally you can use it as social content. You can also post it on the blog on your website, but to give it even more gas, as I would say, is I would create an account on Medium, which is a big blogging site, and whatever you post on your website for a blog, I would also put that same post on a Medium blog because there's a whole other community out there. And this gives an opportunity for your content to be discovered. And I would also post it on a LinkedIn blog for your nonprofit organization, because this is a way that professionals can see what your organization is up to, and it gives them an opportunity to be exposed to your blog as well. Because think about it, if people aren't coming to your website to see the blog in the first place, you'll have people that come to your website, but there's a whole other audience that isn't even thinking about your organization or your website. But now this gives you a way for people to share your blog on LinkedIn and discover it on Medium, and it just gives you more gas for that overall campaign. But again, within your blog, have a link or have a button that will pull back to, or that will point to, your donation page. All right, next one is a Lightbox. And these are the things that pop up on your website whenever you visit a website. Sometimes they pop up immediately, sometimes they're timed. So if you're on a website for 10 to 15 seconds, a Lightbox will pop up and you'll see that. But why am I recommending it? Because they work. I've seen these things, especially around holiday times, generate tens of thousands of dollars. And I'm not saying that that's going to happen for your organization, but what I am going to say is the functionality of a Lightbox warrants that it will be effective in your digital fundraising. And that's because when you come to a website without a Lightbox, you come to the website, it loads. There's a menu across the top that probably has, 5 to 8 different options. And then there might be drop-down menus on those. And then there's a call to action here for the campaign, maybe one to sign up for email, maybe one to read an article. So without a Lightbox, when a donor hits your homepage, they're faced with about 20 different calls to action or different choose your own adventure paths that they can go. If you put a Lightbox on there, there's only one of two things that a donor can do. They can either click on it and go to your donation page, or they can close the box and go to your full website. That's it, 2 options, as opposed to being distracted. But they may have intentions to go to your website and donate, but something else may have caught their eye, and by the time they would have gone to donate, you've lost their attention. So this is something to really capture that attention. So within this Lightbox, you want to have it definitely integrate with your overall existing campaign. You would have a campaign image and some copy on there, what the value is. Again, make it about the donor, not about your organization, the impact that your donor can help your organization make, or the impact that the donor themselves can make, and not so much on your organization. And then make sure that it points to your campaign page, not to just a regular donation page, because we want, whenever this is clicked, the donor experience needs to be the same throughout, and it needs to reinforce the same messaging of that Lightbox that they clicked on in the first place. All right, now we'll talk about Facebook ads. And with Facebook ads, a lot of nonprofits have started to do this, especially the past 2 to 3 years. I've seen a huge upswing in the amount of nonprofits that are getting into the Facebook ads game, especially from Giving Tuesday on through the rest of the year. However, you can also do this throughout the whole year. And, kind of my word of warning about, or not necessarily warning, but maybe some insight about Facebook ads. If you're running them outside of the fourth quarter of the calendar year, you're probably not going to see a ton of donations come in. However, you will get donations, and the purpose of a Facebook ad, getting donations should really be secondary in my opinion, and more of it's about getting the word out about your campaign that's going on, and because it allows people to like, comment, or share on your ads, and it helps to spread awareness of your campaign. It helps to spread just awareness of your organization, and gets people involved to where you're starting to really begin that relationship with potential donors, as opposed to here's a Facebook ad and they're just going to churn money around. But I do think it's an important piece to support your overall campaign, because if you think about it, people that don't check email but they're your friend on Facebook, or maybe they're not your friend, because with Facebook ads you can set targets to target people who are not your friends. It still allows them to see your campaign and allows them a way to get to your donation page. What I have on here is to create multiple versions of your ads. I would not just create one ad for a campaign. I would create anywhere from 2 to, depending on the size and budget that you have, size of your organization and budget you have available, maybe 2 to 10 different ads, and just run them at different times and see which ones outperform in terms of click-throughs and conversions, because this will help you to better understand what creative resonates with your potential donors out there. And also the second bullet on here is to create different segments, not a one-size-fits-all strategy. And what I mean by this is within Facebook ads, there's a lot of ways that you can segment your audiences, whether it's by age, whether it's by retargeting. You can actually have a separate segment for people that have visited your website. You can create a separate segment within Facebook of people who have engaged with your ads or your page content. So if someone has liked, commented, shared any of your posts or your ads, you can create an audience and just target them. And this is a warm audience, people who are familiar with your nonprofit. One of the also really great ways to target an audience is through targeting your donors. You can upload your email lists of your current email subscribers into Facebook, and Facebook will match that audience with people who use that email to sign into Facebook. And so now you're actually targeting that email audience on Facebook and reinforcing that message. The last bullet that I have on here is including a link in the description copy and donate button. What I mean by that is, if you look at this ad that we have here for Humane Society of the United States, it has some copy above the ad. You see the picture itself that says "Fight for Me," and there's copy above that. What I would do is put a link to your donation page also in that section. Not just where the Donate Now section is, but you actually have it within the copy of the ad itself. So you want to make sure that you do that. And I would suggest that you create a bit.ly link. You can take your URL for your donation page and go to bit.ly, and put in your URL link in there, and it will give you a shortened link for your donation page. And so I would put that into the copy that's above the image on your Facebook ad that you have here. All right, the next one is search engine ads. 3 quick bullets here. I'll just say them and then I'll explain them. Google for nonprofits, Google ads, and Bing ads. By now, most of you, if not all, are probably familiar with what a search engine ad is. It's called search engine marketing, or SEM. These are the ads that show up on Google or Bing if you're searching for something. And it will pop up on the top of the search results. And you can see an example here. There was a search for Nonprofit Toronto, and you'll see in the boxes different areas of ads that are for nonprofits. And ways that you can integrate this with your overall campaigns, depending on what your campaign is. You know, you can target certain keywords that support your campaign. So again, if you do cancer research, you might make one of your keywords donate to cancer research or support a cancer research facility. You know, there's a lot of different keywords that would be more specific to your organization, or even your branded keywords. Whatever the name of your organization is, you can use that as a keyword. So when people search for that online, your ad will show up at the top of the page, most likely at the top. It's not guaranteed that it'll be the very first at the top because there's some other factors that go into that, but it would show up in that advertising section. And within that ad itself, you can talk a little bit about the campaign and then have a link to that donation page. Now, if you have Google for Nonprofits, you can also have that account along with your Google Ads account, because having both of these, there's certainly an advantage to that, and I'll do another training on that at a future time. But of course, Google for Nonprofits, if you have a Google ad grant, you get up to $10,000 a month in search marketing within the Google network. You can bid on keywords that are, I guess it won't let you bid over $2 per keyword. And that's the advantage of having Google Ads, is if a keyword does cost more than that, then Google Ads will allow you to still get into the game of search marketing by allowing your organization to bid a higher amount on keywords. And you would have to decide whether or not that would make sense for your organization or not, okay? But this is a way that you can use search ads to support your overall campaign, and primarily write some ad copy that mirrors or is closely reflected to what's in your overall campaign, and bid on those keywords. So when people pull up those search results, your campaign will be right there. Okay. The next one is display ads, and you all have seen these display ads, whether you do them with your organization or not, because if you're not doing them with your organization, you've most certainly seen these when you're online just browsing the internet. And you'll see these a lot, especially retargeting ads. These are the ads where if you go to a website and you don't make a gift, or if you don't buy that pair of shoes, whatever the case may be, you'll start to see the ads of the item that you just looked at. It will start following you all across the internet. And it's kind of spooky from a consumer perspective, but as marketers, it's great. It's great technology. But also understand that display ads are really good for awareness, but they don't convert very high. So my notes here about display ads is I would do retargeting for sure, and those are relatively inexpensive. And again, the retargeting, it allows you just to show ads to people who have visited your website or visited your donation page. I would also recommend desktop only if you're doing display ads. You can certainly run them on mobile devices, but what I've found is that, well, two reasons that I don't recommend mobile devices, and one is most gifts are still given on a desktop. Of the digital gifts in 2019, according to the Blackbox study, 26%, I believe, were made through a mobile device, which means was that 74% were still made through desktop. So that's the first reason that I would say stick to desktop right now for display ads, because you want to maximize your ROI. And the second reason is because a lot of times when you have ads set for mobile devices, a lot of the ad providers will start putting your ads within apps or games. And what I found is with those particular kinds of ads that end up in mobile apps or games, is they'll just pop up and people will click them just to get to what they're trying to get to, the game that they're trying to access. So I found them to be less effective. They have a really high click-through because people are trying to click off of them. However, from a conversion standpoint and from a getting more out of your money standpoint, desktop right now is where it would be. But also keep in mind, these are not going to convert very high. This is something that you will have in front of your donors in order to really resonate the rest of your campaign. It provides another impression. Someone who didn't make a gift, they'll see that ad and like, oh yeah, it'll put your organization back into their consideration set to make another gift. The third bullet on here is minimal design. You don't want to have too much writing, too much copy, too much busyness going on within your display ad. You want to have it pretty stripped down. I think most of these that we see here are good examples of display ads. The one at the bottom, the Northwestern University, has probably a little bit more copy in it than I would recommend. But I think in my opinion, the one in the St. Jude's, the Help Him Beat Cancer, Donate Now, is a very good ad because it's clean, it has a good clear message on there, and it has the Donate Now. So I think that's a really great example. But again, I would also create multiple test versions. So even if this ad, the St. Jude's ad, is doing great and it's performing well, I would still create different versions of ads. That way we can see, overall what creative our audience is responding to more. All right, the next of the 14 components are social media organic posts. And I do find that this is a very easy channel that people neglect whenever they're running campaigns, because for whatever reason, you're thinking email, you're thinking fundraising, but you're not necessarily thinking, oh yeah, we need to talk about this also in social media. So definitely Facebook, because your donors are probably there. We're seeing more and more people be on Instagram, and especially now that nonprofits can allow donations through their Instagram account. That's a big plus. And for Twitter, just wherever you're active within social media, you can create, whether it's an image or a piece of content that reinforces your overall fundraising campaign. So I would post once a week just to keep that campaign fresh and provide updates on your overall campaign. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're asking for money or begging for money every week for 4 to 6 weeks, but around the time that you send that email, I would also send a Facebook post. And then again, check in each week, say, here's how we're doing. We still need some help. Or you can tell a story about the impact of what your campaign is doing, but not necessarily make a hard ask on social media. But you want to keep that campaign in front of people. And again, like an email, not everybody's going to check their email. On your social media, your organic reach is dwindling. So that's why it's important to make sure that you are playing where your donors are playing and have a presence of your campaign messaging within both of those channels. I would also, there's a lot of new features within social media, stories, live streaming. I would try to integrate those somehow within your stories, kicking off your campaigns with a Facebook or Instagram story. If you do have any of your donors on Snapchat, which most organizations don't because that tends to skew to a younger audience, even TikTok is still a much younger audience. But Facebook and Instagram, I would say, would be good places to play, to use stories, and even to do a live stream. So on Facebook, I would go live to announce the campaign, talk about what you're doing. And if you want to check in, do another live stream to provide an update within your campaign time frame, do that. And I would use live to close out your campaign and get that last push from your donors. So social media, this would be another component to your overall campaign. Now let's talk about your cover image on Facebook. Because you're already going to be creating assets for your campaign, you might even be able to use the same image for your hero image on your website and put that as your cover image on Facebook. So there are certainly some options that you can use, but you have this real estate on your Facebook page. Why not use it to help to amplify your campaign? Because this, again, reinforces every time your donors or potential donors are seeing your brand during that campaign period, they're seeing this campaign and they're seeing it again and they're seeing it again. And it's like, I need to go ahead and make a gift to this, because you keep giving them the impressions and the frequency of seeing your campaign messaging. And so that's something that I would do. If you're active on Twitter, I would create an image for Twitter, the campaign image, or the cover image that they have there on Twitter. So yeah, so it reinforces campaign, and you create this for other active sites that you're on with social media. And that's a pretty quick thing to do. One tool that you can use in order to create images is Canva, C-A-N-V-A. This is a tool that I use for some of my social media marketing and images, and even some of my advertising online. I'll use Canva because there's a lot of really cool tools in there that you can use from a design perspective, and you can upload your own images and add different fonts and colors, and there's just a lot that you can do with it. So that's a tool that you might check out to help out with some of your design if you don't have an in-house designer or if you don't have a freelance designer that you work with. The next one's pretty simple. It's your Facebook button on your Facebook page. If you're going to have that campaign image up there, what you can do with this donate button is actually put the URL to your campaign on there, and this will allow those gifts to be tracked as your campaign revenue, as opposed to one of two other ways: just general revenue to your nonprofit, or if people are using Facebook's tools, if that becomes a donation straight into Facebook's platform, then you actually don't get that donor information unless your donors check the box and opt into sharing that information with you. So I would definitely recommend that this donation page, that you push that over to your donation pages. That way you can completely have the donor information that you are requiring of them in order to make the donation, which is most likely your email and their address information. And also, when you have this donate button right there, it's contextually relevant to your campaign image that's showing up as your Facebook image. And so these are, really three great reasons to have the donate button point to your campaign page. Drives donors to the page, you get to keep their data, and it's contextually relevant to your campaign messaging that's showing up in that Facebook image. All right, now we also have SMS Messages, and most organizations aren't doing this. Who I find does this really well is St. Jude. I still get their texts every now and then, and I think it's really great what they're doing in mobile. And this is something that you can do to support your campaign as well if you are active in mobile. And again, this is not like text to give, and I just want to make that clear. When I'm talking about SMS messages, I'm not talking about running a text to give campaign, because if you do that, you're probably going to undercut the amount of gifts that you could probably get, and you don't really get to keep that donor data in the first place. So an SMS campaign would, similar to what we're seeing here, you'd see an image, you'd have some text, and it would point to a mobile optimized donation page. And the reason that these can be successful is because our cell phones are so personal to us. We have these by our side within an arm's reach probably 90% of the day that we're awake. And it has such a high open rate. You're going to see 90+% open rates on a mobile device. So if anything, you may open it and you may not give a gift through mobile, but you may see that text and it may remind you that you had this email, or maybe you're sitting in front of your computer and it's just easier for you to make that gift online. So it's just another impression. It's another way to reach that donor during the time that you're running a campaign. And then we'll look at direct mail URLs. Now, you're like, Jeremy, this is digital. Why are we talking about direct mail? Because it still relates to digital. If your nonprofit is sending out direct mail pieces and all of your digital is part of that campaign, then you definitely want to have a URL on your direct mail pieces that's specially designed for this particular campaign. Now, up to this point, before we started talking about direct mail URLs, everything else could be a digital-only campaign. You don't necessarily need a digital component to run that campaign. However, if it's an integrated campaign with something that is digital, that is direct mail, that's when you would want to have that direct mail campaign. And so this would help track your campaign revenue as opposed to a white mail gift just coming in. You'd be able to notice that if someone gives online, and giving that option, making sure that I think this is a great example here. You can either write in your gift, you can mail in your gift, you can call in your gift, or you can log on and send your gift. So from a direct mail perspective, this gives the direct mail donor 3 different options in which they can give a gift. And you see the URL here at the bottom. It says log on to ob.org/monthlypartner. So my recommendation would be to do something similar for your campaign. Now, if you have a really long name or really long URL for your organization, if your organization's name is long, then perhaps you might want to buy a vanity URL that would be a shorter domain name, and you can forward that domain name to your donation page. So that is another thing that you can do to track your direct mail gifts from the online channel. Okay, so it doesn't seem like it, but we are now at the number 12, or number 14 rather, area for the components for your digital marketing campaigns or digital fundraising campaigns. We've zipped through those pretty quickly. The last one here, and the one that I believe is the most overlooked, is the thank you page. Once someone makes a gift to your organization and the little thank you confirmation screen comes up and says thank you for your gift, this is an extremely valuable piece of real estate for your nonprofit. And I would probably, this is just me going out on a limb here, but I'm going to say 90 to 95% of nonprofits don't do anything with this page that really benefits the nonprofit. And this is the part, if you're going to think of the nonprofit and benefit yourself, this will be the time to do it, because the donor has just made a gift. They're in a state where they feel good because they've given a gift. Now is the time that you offer a next step and you obtain more information from the donor. And you can do that. That information can be several things. The example that we have here is from Charity Water, and with this, they're actually getting the birth date of the donor. So that's how they're using it, at least for this particular campaign. This would be a chance to do a donor survey. This could be a chance to ask them to join your sustainer club, which would probably be the route that I would go first. Is I would try to see, now that you've given a gift, your support means a lot to us. Have you thought about becoming a sustaining donor? And then point them to that donation page or your program page about sustained giving. And that is a way that once you get the gift, you're able to deepen that relationship with your donors and get them while they're in a state of giving and while they're in this state of gratitude and really feeling good about a choice that they just made to help a nonprofit. So definitely use your thank you pages as a way to further your mission and to strengthen your relationship with your donors, and to use it as a way to generate more revenue for your nonprofit. All right, so let's go in summary. And it might be kind of interesting as you are going through this, you might be thinking about, okay, these are 14 different things. How do I put it all together here? And so this breaks it down a little bit more simple for you. Starting with your website, there were 5 components that relate to your website. There's your donation page, there's the thank you page, there's your hero image or your banner image on your home page, there's a Lightbox, and your blog. So these 5 different components all are tied into your website. Next we have social media. We have your organic posts, we have a Facebook cover image or any other social media sites where you can put an image up, and then you have your Facebook profile button URL. So this simplifies, here's what you need to do for social media. For direct mail, it's your direct mail URLs. For digital media, you have your search engine marketing that you can do with Google for nonprofits, Google ads, or Bing ads. You can do Facebook ads and display ads. Or if you're doing any other kind of social media, you can also do Twitter ads, you can do LinkedIn ads, Facebook ads, you can do Instagram ads within the Facebook platform. And then your display ads, this is where you can do some of those retargeting ads to target people who have already come to your website. From a mobile device perspective, you have SMS messaging. And then last, email. So here are, really 6 different key channels, if you will: website, social media, direct mail, digital media, mobile, and email. And here are the different pieces underneath all of these different channels. So now we get into the how to do it. Now, I'm not going to walk you step by step on how to do this. Maybe that will be another training, but we just went over 14 different things. So in a way to kind of calm you and bring all this together somehow, let's talk about these items that I have here. The first thing that you want to do is write a plan that includes all 14 of these. So if you have a campaign coming up, whatever your campaign is, make this a part of your plan. Go back and review these 14 and put them down as different components to your campaign. And what I would do is create a checklist for each of these so I can track, have we completed the creative assets required for each of these 14 different ones. Then you would assign roles, and actually, the checklist would be, you'd create the checklist, but it will be completed throughout all of this. I would assign roles depending on the size of your nonprofit. It might be one person doing all of this. It might be a freelancer that's partnering with you on it, or you might have a team of people within your nonprofit. But making sure that you assign roles and that everybody knows what their role is and what the due dates are for these. And then the work begins. You create the assets for all different 14 of these different pieces. And of course, you want to quality check the assets once they are created. And once that's done, you schedule everything that needs to be scheduled, like an email, like a digital media ad, and then you deploy it on the days that you've decided for it to be deployed. So I know this is very simplified, but hopefully this will help to bring some of it together for you so you can understand how to do it and where to get started, and some things that might help serve as benchmarks for you as you're tracking this whole process. Now we look at prioritizing these 14 different components, because let's be honest here, a lot of nonprofits won't be able to do all 14 of these. And it just seems like, some pie in the sky dream that I'm trying to sell, to say, hey, do all 14 of these. The reality is most nonprofits can't do this. And if your nonprofit can't do it, how do you prioritize which 14 of these need to be a part of your campaigns? And with that, I'll bring up all these channels again. And the ones in green would be your top priority. The ones in gold are your second level priority, and the red could be your third priority. So as we look at all the green, your donation page, hero banner, organic post, direct mail URL, Facebook ads, and email. These would be the main things that you absolutely have to do. Now, your Facebook ads could be a greenish, orangish, but I debated with myself where I wanted to place that. And I have it as green because I think it's a great way to make sure that you're hitting your audience in all of the channels, and they can be relatively done inexpensively. The second tier would be your thank you page, Lightbox, Facebook cover image, your Facebook profile button, and SEM. And the reason that I prioritize these second is because some of these take a little bit more time and development to create. So they're not necessarily, the highest priority, although these are all important. Some of these are easy, like a Facebook cover image is relatively easy to do. But is it something that's, you have to have it? No, it's not. Because when you look at how much money it's going to generate, it's probably not going to generate much. It's just more there from awareness and to amplify your campaign. That's why I made that a priority too. A blog, SMS messaging, and display ads, I put these as the lowest priority. Number one, because a blog, it takes a long time to write, or it can, depending on your organization and the resources you have available. It can take some time to create. And also, unless you're really promoting it with some money behind it, then it's probably not going to get a ton of traffic initially, and it might take some time for that momentum, but you still would want to have it. Your SMS messaging, most nonprofits right now are still not doing SMS messaging, so I don't necessarily believe that you need to run out and get an SMS messaging provider or program in place, though I do think it's important, and you do need to look at that if you're not doing it now. And if you can afford to do it and test it, then yes, 100% do it. Display ads, I put that as the lowest because, again, they don't convert very well. It's something that is great for awareness for your organization, but they don't convert a lot. So if I had to prioritize where you would invest, those would be the lowest at all. Now, will they help your campaign? Yes. Is it something that people will give a lot of gifts directly attributed to that display ad? No. But if all things being the same, and you run a campaign with display ads and one without, you will most likely have a lift in your overall giving with that display ad campaign. Okay, so that is how you would prioritize these channels. So now we want to talk about what's next for you as a fundraiser, for you as someone who is trying to learn how to raise the most money online. One of the things you can do is join Fundraisers Unite. This is my online community that every month I'm creating training for you. I'm doing weekly coaching on Facebook Live. I have a resource library that's growing each and every month with different templates and tip sheets to really help you as an online marketer and a nonprofit online marketer and fundraiser. So there's a lot of resources there. There's an online community of fundraisers from around the world. I have an active blog that I post exclusive content within our community. And then I also have some really great interviews from industry experts about different topics of fundraising. So, it's an extremely valuable community to be a part of, not only to learn about nonprofit fundraising online, but also just to make sure that you're on top of your game and that you have frameworks in place to help you to be successful, whether it's social media or email or search ads. And so one of the things that I'm doing as part of this training is I'm actually throwing in the digital fundraising blueprint if you were to join Fundraisers Unite. And this is normally a $500 training, but it doesn't cost you anything if you join Fundraisers Unite, which is only $7 a month. Now, the Digital Fundraising Blueprint, it's an online course. It's self-paced, over 5 hours of content, and I dive really deep into email, SEO, social media, digital media, and a lot more. If you're CFRE, it has 4.5 CFRE points. But the bottom line, at the end of this, like, you're going to know how to talk about digital fundraising. It has very simple and easy tactics that you can implement as soon as you finish the training. I broke it down to a beginner to intermediate level learner. If you have zero digital fundraising knowledge, like, this is going to serve you well. If you're already doing digital fundraising, I have a ton of tips within here that will help you to get even better at raising money online. So again, you join Fundraisers Unite today, you can cancel it at any time. Again, so $7 a month, that's all it is. If you stay in for a month and you don't like it, you cancel it, no questions asked. This is an opportunity for you to grow as a fundraiser, to be plugged into a community of like-minded people, and also once a week you have an opportunity to engage with me and we can interact via Facebook Live. I'll answer any questions you have about nonprofit fundraising, digital marketing, or any other topics that you want to talk about. That is it. I would say consider joining Fundraisers Unite today. So that is the end of our training. Thank you so much for joining. I hope you learned a lot from this. And if you have any questions, definitely reach out to me through all the channels that you see here. And if you're a part of our Fundraisers Unite community, you can certainly send a message or post anything on any of those message boards inside of there. Thank you so much for joining. Thanks for all the work that you do as a nonprofit fundraiser. I hope you raise lots of money and do lots of good in the world. Have a great day.